Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanishalaakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet. In this session, we continue to discuss from the 38th verse of the 17th chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. This session will be part 3 of the discussion on the 38th verse. Previous two sessions, we discussed different aspects of this 4 sinful activities. Dyutam, Panam, Striya, Suna. Gambling and drinking liquor, and then illicit connection with women, and animal slaughter, animal killing for the sake of eating the animal flesh. These 4 sinful activities we discussed in the previous two sessions. Prabhupada now is in the last part of this purport. He is describing what is the duty of the executive heads of state to actually counteract this evil influence of Kali, so that there is religiosity, which is dharma, is protected in the state. So Prabhupada says, following in the footsteps of Maharaj Parikshit, it is the duty of all executive heads of states to see that the principles of religion, namely austerity, cleanliness, mercy and truthfulness, tapashaucham, daya satyam, are established in the state, and that the principles of irreligion, namely pride, illicit female association or prostitution, intoxication and falsity, are checked by all means. So, the 4 principles of religion, dharma, to uphold dharma, dharma stands on 4 pillars. That means there has to be austerity, cleanliness, mercy and truthfulness. Then only there is dharma. Dharma is not based on some sentimental following of some so-called religious principles, no. Which each person may think, according to me this is dharma, according to somebody else something else is dharma. No. These are universal, factual principles of dharma, which is applicable for the entire human society, irrespective of what somebody's belief system may be, or some traditional affiliation to some community or caste or religion, so-called religion may be, irrespective of that. So Srila Prabhupada says, to make the best use of a bad bargain, the personality of Kali may be transferred to places of gambling, drinking, prostitution and slaughterhouses, if there are any places like that. So Kali Purusha has entered the kingdom of Parikshit, but Parikshit doesn't want Kali Purusha to influence the citizens of his kingdom who are strictly following the religious principles. He didn't want Kali to influence them to become irreligious. So he gave Kali Purusha 4 places. Now, Kali Purusha actually to be indicated that in the next verse, that he saw in Parikshit Maharaj's kingdom because he was ruling very strictly, there were no places where these activities were going on. The people were protected against the influence of these sinful acts. So, Srila Prabhupada says, if there are some people who are addicted to such habits, for them what is the way out of these sinful activities? So Prabhupada says, those who are addicted to these irreligious habits may be regulated by the injunctions of the scripture. As I mentioned in the previous session, part 2 of this same verse, discussion on part 2, the previous session, that in the Shastras there is a concession given for tamasic people that they may be regulated in drinking liquor or eating meat or indulging in sex with women by Shastric injunctions. So injunctions of the scriptures meant for such tamasic people. But in no circumstances should such people who are addicted to these habits be encouraged by the government or the state or the king. Never should there be any freedom given to indulge in unrestrictedly. So Prabhupada says, in other words, the state should never encourage any of these activities. They should categorically stop all sorts of gambling, drinking, prostitution, falsity. And for that, eradicating these sinful activities from the state, Prabhupada says the government or the state may introduce the principles of religion in the following manner. He gives recommendations. Srila Prabhupada gives recommendations. Number 1, the first recommendation is 2 compulsory fasting days in a month, if not more, to practice austerity. Everyone should practice austerity. And for that, what they should do? They should fast 2 compulsory days in a month. So Prabhupada says, even from the economic point of view, such 2 fasting days in a month in the state will save tons of food, and the system will also act very favorably on the general health of the citizens. This is particularly the recommendation in the scriptures of fasting on Ekadashi. Twice a month, the 11th day in the lunar calendar, Shukla Paksha and Krishna Paksha Ekadashi, twice a month, lunar month, everybody should fast. Ekadashi is a vrata meant for everyone. They should fast means fast from grains. So this way, they'll be practicing austerity, because of which they will not be influenced by Kali Purusha or Kali Yuga, the evil influence of this age. They will not be influenced. And even from the economic point of view, the state will save so much of grains. And even on the general health of the citizens, such fasting will help them to improve their health. Fasting is the best way of improving one's health. At least twice a month, as recommended in the scriptures. Then the second recommendation here is that there must be compulsory marriage of young boys and girls attaining 24 years of age and 16 years of age respectively. That means boys, when they reach 24 years of age, they should compulsorily get married, and girls, when they reach 16 years of age, they should get compulsory married. Why is this recommendation of compulsory marriage? Because it's very natural for young boys and girls to mix with each other, but they should not mix without being properly married. That is the danger of mixing free mixing. So Prabhupada says, there is no harm in co-education in the schools and colleges, provided the boys and girls are duly married. And in case there is any intimate connection between a male and female student, they should be married properly without illicit relation. That means mixing between a boy and a girl is only allowed if they are married. Otherwise, it should not be allowed. So, that mixing without being married is called illicit connection. It is actually sinful. Mixing without being married. Only a married couple, boy and girl or man and woman, can actually mix with each other. Otherwise, no. And Prabhupada also says the Divorce Act is encouraging prostitution and this should be abolished. Formerly, in the Vedic culture, there was nothing like divorce. In the entire Vedic scripture, there is no mention of divorce. So, there should be no government encouragement or government license for divorce. So, that is the Divorce Act has to be abolished. That's what Prabhupada's recommendation is, to avoid illicit connection with women. The third recommendation Srila Prabhupada gives is the citizens of the state must give in charity up to 50% of their income for the purpose of creating a spiritual atmosphere in the state or in human society, both individually and collectively. You see, that people's earning, money they earn, should be utilized properly so that there is a good atmosphere a spiritual atmosphere is created in the state or the human society. Why? Because unless there is a proper atmosphere, it is difficult to encourage people to practice some basic principles what are recommended in the Bhagavatam. Also, they should preach the principles of Bhagavatam. The state should encourage preaching the principles of Bhagavatam by 5 different methods. Principles of Bhagavatam can be preached by the first one, Karma Yoga, or doing everything for the satisfaction of the Lord. This is explained in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Karma Yoga means whatever work one does it as sacrifice to Vishnu, sacrifice to the Supreme Lord. That's called Yajna. So Karma Yoga means performing all work as sacrifice, Yajna. Second one is regular hearing of the Srimad Bhagavatam from authorized persons or realized souls. Bhagavat Shravan. Third one is chanting of the glories of the Lord congregationally at home or at places of worship. Sankirtan Yajna. Specifically, Kirtana, Hari Kirtana. Chanting of the glories of the Lord congregationally. All gathered together, people gather together at home or in places of worship, and they perform this Kirtana, Hari Kirtana. And fourth recommendation is rendering all kinds of service to the Bhagavatas engaged in preaching Srimad Bhagavatam. Those who preach Srimad Bhagavatam exclusively, dedicating their lives for such preaching, such Bhagavatas should be actually given all kinds of service. Serve the Bhagavatas. Bhagavata Seva. And the fifth recommendation is residing in a place where the atmosphere is saturated with God consciousness. These 5 recommendations for preaching the principles of Bhagavatam are taught by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his teachings to Sanatana Goswami. And this is followed by the the Acharyas in the disciplic succession from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So then this whole atmosphere will be completely saturated with God consciousness. So these are the recommendations Prabhupada gives in his purport to the executive heads of state so that they can eradicate the sinful activities and also bring about a God conscious atmosphere in the state so that there is no corruption, there is no illicit activities going on in the state. I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.